right. Well, once again, thanks again for joining us on Monday Mornings with Master Wall with Grant and Brian. I am Brian.
I'm Grant.
And today we have a great show with one of Master Wall's friends. As always, please email Grant or myself with comments, questions, and or topics that you want to see. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you want to hear about. We have a couple of great shows. We have more coming up. But this week, the icon, the one and only Dennis Deppner of Mastwall. He's the senior spec writer, head tech service, lead systems detail and design, and so much more. You like that, Dennis, right?
The MVP.
The MVP
you left off the MVP
of Masterwall to talk about what he does for us and for all of you that are out there. So we welcome Dennis. Thank you to come. You've had a plethora of history. And so without writing anything down, and speaking it, just kind of give us about like a short synopsis of how you got here. What have you been up to the last 30 years of your life? You know, it doesn't take too much to do that, but yeah, but just in general, how did you get here? And what is your background of why you do what you do now?
Well, broadly, throughout my whole life, I've always been involved in kind of construction and nuts and bolts and things like that. As a kid, I was always building forts, tearing things apart, doing things like that. Going through life, I wanted to either be a police officer was the first thing I wanted to be because my dad was. Then I realized that shoot back at you. And that's not good. And from there, it just kind of developed into a love of architecture and building, and that all came together my senior year. And so I ended up going to, it's now Lawrence Technical University, but it was Lawrence Tech at the time, and went there and got my architecture degree. Things that I did, though, I like architecture, but I'm not a particularly good designer. And so I would do things in the summer. So one summer I got my builder's license. One summer I took a timber frame class where he actually built a timber frame house. Got to explore getting a real estate license, just kind of these peripheral things were interesting to me that I wanted to do. And then from there, when I graduated college, I didn't want to go into an architect's office, and I say I've never worked a day in an architect's office, but what I did do was I went out and worked construction for about a year and a half, and then got into and more of the engineering. So I worked for a roofing and waterproofing company, or I guess you'd say consulting firm, and this was before we were called building consultants. So it was still in the infancy. So I worked on a lot of big threes projects here in the Detroit area, as well as a lot of building diagnostics and things like that. From there, someone, I don't know if you've heard his name, Mike Irving. He actually put an ad in the old Detroit News looking for a technical guy. This is when we worked for another company. So interviewed with him, and enjoyed him, and actually ended up driving, what was it, an hour and a half each day, one way, down to the plant, and worked with him, and then of course he might have got a job at Masterwall, probably 22 years ago, I'm thinking. Worked at Masterwall for a couple of years, and then had me come over as a tech. And I don't know if you knew this about Mike, but he was a technical services manager at one time.
What?
So good to know.
Yeah, he needs to put that on his LinkedIn profile.
Seriously, man, now we know who else to go to for some of this stuff.
Yeah, when Dennis is on vacation, we're calling Mike.
Yeah, he was actually the techie before I was the techie.
Wait, yeah. His mic is it? I don't know what it is, but he said, "Wait a minute, that's fine."
I was the technical rep for that company, and Mike was my boss.
Wow, it's a small world. That's funny.
Oh my goodness. Well,
So yeah, really from there, after I left the other company, I did a sales rep gig for about a year and a half, and I learned an appreciation for what you guys do. Don't want to do it, but I learned the appreciation, and really have just taken over the technical side of Masterwall for the last 20 years now. Hard to believe.
Well, you're definitely as integral a part of the sales team as anybody, Dennis. I mean, we rely on you, and you interface with the customers probably better than we do sometimes. I think you get more direct calls about issues than sales guys get sometimes. You're involved in a lot of industry associations, and I know you're at one time were the president of NOXA. I don't know if is that still the case?
I still am. It's rolling.
Well, kind of talk us through your involvement maybe with different organizations and how you interface there and why you see that as an important part of what you do.
Well, it does a couple things. I think it adds a little bit of credibility to what you do, and also there's that learning piece. So there's the collaboration and learning. Things that we do, NOXA, the National One Coat Stucco Association. This year we wrote our own standard for one coat stucco. Very important to have that standard and have that collaboration specific to one coat stucco, as opposed to doing it for regular stucco. This year we became members of the Stucco Manufacturers Association, another great group that is focused on stucco. And what are we, Grant, 2 years in on EMA?
I think this is our third year this year. Yeah.
The technical committee there, very advanced, very knowledgeable. I think I learned more being there than what I give, but it's a great experience and great to collaborate with that group of people that are in our EIFS end of the business.
Yeah, I mean, I know part of that is a lot of focus on testing and standards and all that. So maybe now I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but what direction do you see the testing going, particularly with EIFS and stucco? And do you see value in that, or do you see it as something where we're just getting in the weeds and spending money, or do you see value in the direction that testing is going?
That's broad. Obviously, you need a degree of testing to validate your products, and I think that's a given. And on our end of the business, it needs to be third-party testing. It's not something you do in-house. So to verify that your product does what it does, I think there's a good value in that. Where we have gotten into the weeds is at NFPA 285 and being a fingerprint type test where you have to test all these different assemblies. At about $15,000 a piece, that becomes a little bit more of a challenge. The wraparound that I'm seeing though in our business is evaluating your products for product extensions. So say for example, are you using fire treated plywood rather than gypsum, and can this be used in the assembly, and do you think it'll affect it? A lot of that's coming to light, and I can see that as a little bit more of a future as a way to broaden all manufacturers' use of products.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you interface with our sales team quite a bit, and people throughout the company. Honestly, I mean, you do a lot. You've had some history in marketing with us. You've really had a broad base here. But kind of walk us through what a day or a week looks like for you. The different tasks that you handle within Masterwall, and maybe what you actually enjoy doing versus what you have to do sometimes.
Good question. Yeah.
Okay. I just view my role as like your power steering. So for the sales group, it's, anything they need is to help your job be better. Same with customers. So we service large applicators and small applicators. Sometimes the large applicators, they really, when it comes to submitting for a project or something like that, they really know what they're doing. Smaller applicators, they're out going to get jobs. So they might not have time to look over the specs fully and get together a fully developed submittal package. I do that. And really, I enjoy digging into that. Those things are pretty enjoyable. The day-to-day calls are usually good and bad. I'd say that those are some of the tougher ones. But generally solving problems, helping people on their projects are things that I really enjoy. What else? Working with architects on details. That's something that I really enjoy. We're going to go over some presentations on that.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. It's like you planned this, Dennis. So I know plan reviews is one of the things that we had talked about. So yeah, Brian's got it. So maybe walk us through that process. What is a plan review? You know, why do we offer these free of charge? What value do you see in them? And then what's the ultimate goal when we do a plan review?
Okay, good questions. Usually I'm seeing plan reviews on larger projects, and you're going to see this later on in the slideshow, but this is Calypso Tower. It's right there in Panama City Beach, giant project. And one of the things we did on the plan review is you're going through the plan review. It's a blow-by-blow detail and review of their plans and their specifications and trying to coordinate all this. And this project, being a larger project, so it went through, this was a fairly large plan review. And it actually went through a few versions with the architect until they started to realize, okay, here's what we are trying to do with your project. So it's asking for clarification, it's defining any details, and I think the next slide has a detail on it, Brian. And so where this project actually ended up going was I went down and we had a job site meeting in the office and actually started hashing out this entire plan review. This was like a 60-page plan review, so it was larger than normal, but the degree of work required it. And so this is a troublesome architect detail here. You can see they just kind of drew it up and tacked some foam on there. And one thing about the building code is they kind of want drainage systems to drain, and I appreciate that. And so my job as helping them through this process is to show them how this can possibly be done. And so where we worked it out is in this next slide. And basically showed them, okay, here's how we can install our system. This was the roller shield drainage sifts. And also have some means of drainage that you can see drains out there at the bottom. And to the credit of the design, it simplified the design quite a bit for the architect. And I'm not looking to, when I go through these plan reviews, I'm not looking to pad products or anything like that. I'm looking to make it work. I'm looking to make it work efficiently. If there's extra framing in there that we don't need, let's get rid of it. And just make the project flow better is really what you want to do with these.
I think it's really interesting, just especially even from last week, right, with the two spec guys, with Mitch and Dave that came on, because they're doing the specs. The specs say, okay, you know, EIFS drainage, that system, and the architect's just going ahead and drawing and designing something. But without us as a manufacturer, without you getting involved in that project, this is going to get missed. It's not going to be, you know, something that the spec guy is going to see or look for. It's not something that the, you know, designer, the actual designing architect is going to look at, because they're not always thinking of these things. And that's where the intimate involvement of a manufacturer, specifically the technical side, is to talk through that process to say, hey, this is going to help everybody in the whole thing. I think that's really critical for sure.
It is. And it becomes just so important at making the project a good project.
Yeah.
And
this is the job. I mean,
what that looks like. I mean, this is a giant project. It's on the coast, so we were dealing with some hurricane issues and that kind of stuff, but just a lot of massive detailing, especially around the balconies and things like that. And this project is just about done, I think.
Yeah.
It was, for a while there, it was almost weekly calls, weekly letters, things like that. And eventually, typical of all projects, it's very intensive in the front, and then once everything gets worked out, it gets better.
Yeah, Brian, to your point, I think, even when we do plan reviews, there's still, little things that may get missed and they have to be addressed during construction. But I think the real value is, that detail there. If installation is already happening and you get to that point and all of a sudden you're trying to, figure that detail out, that can really cause delays in construction and cost people time and money. And there's true value in that. I think, Dennis, your understanding of how architecture works, but also having been involved in sales and other aspects of this industry, you're able to add a lot of value because, like you said, you're not trying to upsell something. You're just trying to get something that's done efficiently that works. And I think that's why people rely on you for these kind of things so often, because you understand that process. Herman had a question. I'll go ahead and ask that, I guess, and we can go on with the presentation after this. But what opportunities and challenges does COVID present for the EIFS industry? Or has it presented challenges that you see, Dennis?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I think that at least on my side of the business and really in our end of the business, we're still really busy. So I think that's good. I can see it being a little slower now or being a little spaced out as far as the application process goes. But I think as far as the design process goes, I've been the ultimate remote worker. I have worked remote for the last 20 years. So I didn't skip a beat. I think everyone else is learning to cope with that. And just moving ahead, at least on my end.
Yeah, Herman, I think one thing we've seen is all this remote has actually made some people more accessible, where information can flow more efficiently. Architects are kind of at home on their own where they're not in a busy office. And so it seems like things flow somewhat efficiently as far as information goes. And I hope their backlog of projects picks back up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, Grant. I mean, I would say the number of actual phone calls has picked up over the last 4 months. So they are picking up the phone and giving you a call.
Do you think, I mean, this is going to a point I want to make just in general, again, because you see this all the time, right? You're the one that's reviewing all the warranties that come in, the technical information that comes in, like that kind of a thing. And you have always mentioned the percentage of warranties asked for versus actually then submitted for is a huge gap, right? In that.
Good question. No, I really haven't. I think we probably only send a warranty out on maybe 1% of the jobs. And really, this is one thing I emphasize to the applicators is please request a warranty. What it does, we view our warranties. Once you're certified, you're good to go. That is a final handshake with us and you. It's our final handshake with you and your customers and of course, the general with the owner. Get that all in order and get it there so that they remember you as a professional company.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would say that you would like to see changed in the industry from that technical side? Like, again, whether it's process, whether it's a system itself, whether it's a detail itself, Like it makes me think of when you come with certificates of applicators, like we're saying that, yeah, you've basically said you're going to do the job based on what our details say, right? But I know that years ago it was a little bit different, where you couldn't even buy material unless you were certified by that manufacturer. And so, I don't know if that change was good or bad, but is there anything specific that you think, yeah, this would be a really good change, or yes, we see this going in this direction and this is a good change, is this when it comes to the EIFS and stucco market?
No, a lot of what manufacturers do is driven by building codes. So they are required to be certified. I think that's a good thing. What I see as a real benefit, though, is like an AWCI doing it right program, where we all got certified as EIFS industry professionals in our company. I think them having that certification for an EIFS mechanic is, I could see that becoming more of a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, even talking about that, we're involved in Stucco Manufacturing Association, their 7 series that Mark had talked about, same type of thing, right? Really educating people on what's going on in the industry. Why is it new? Rather than hearing that old thing. I know Steven in our organization, he'll always say, why is it always 30 years people use, right? They're always like, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never had a problem. I mean, it's like, it's always 30 years that somebody's been doing something the same way. And I think to your point about codes, I think is huge to realize that, EIFS is now in the code. Like these are the things that we need to kind of advocate for, to say, get this into the code. I don't know, is kick-out flashings, are they technically in the code yet?
No, but there is maybe a 2-blurb sentence that talks about flashing and avoiding pockets.
Okay.
That covers everything.
They just don't. Yeah, it covers everything. They don't want to put kick-out flashings in there as you have to do.
Hey, Brad asked a good question. I may kind of rephrase it a little bit, but where do you see the greatest opportunity, in our industry, as far as systems working together, multiple products with just from your perspective, where do you see where do you see our industry going, or what's the best opportunity from your technical perspective?
It's pretty broad there, but one thing I think Masterwell has done really well is develop partnerships. So Herman's on here, and we tend to partner with him on that. Chris Little over at Clark Dietrich. Also, say, for example, Keene and their drainage mats. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of collaboration that we can do together, where you're coming up with multiple assemblies. And I guess the first thing that we have out there that actually has multiple items in it is going to be our Lima system, where we're coming up with the stone adhesive, we're coming up with the mortar, and we're coming up with the roller shield, but then everything else is other manufacturers. And it's a neat collaboration if you can get it to work really well. And that's what I like to focus my time on.
It's like that one source material, one system, one source, one drainage plan. I mean, all those systems are really critical, and really for you putting those together, I will say from a sales point, is huge, right? When getting those details that look the way they look is just, it's invaluable when it comes to what you do, for sure.
And we saw that with the spec writers too. They want kind of a canned spec, at least for the cladding system.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
they
if you
do.
can give them that, I think you're further ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and the value of EIFS that we've seen as we continue to expand the finish options. I mean, you've got one system that can give you the look of wood, of brick, of metal, and to continue pursuing those opportunities. But then, like you said, also to offer the stone with the Lima system. Yeah. But still utilizing one system behind it. You're just changing the finish on the face. Just such a versatile system. Brad, does that kind of address the question that you had?
I wish the industry would promote it, I guess, is where I was going we don't toot our own horn well enough. I don't think. I mean, we do at Masterwall, of course, but the industry is needing to just promote exactly what you said. Single source cladding that covers the code with energy efficiency, and we can give you all the different looks. I think it's almost like a miracle cladding.
Hey, and it's got the fire testing in a single assembly. You're not having to piece together a fire tested assembly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's why EIFS does what it does so well. Yeah. And it's a reasonable cost.
Yeah. Would any of the other Masterwall guys like to toot Dennis's horn a little bit? Because I know you all
please
appreciate
come in,
him.
whether video or not. I mean, please feel free to hop on. Anybody at this point, we're winding down here, but please hop on if you would like to ask a question, even video if you want, or just chat it out. That's fine. Any Masterwall guy or anybody. We can grill them as much as we want. There we go. See?
Can you hear me?
Absolutely,
yes, we can.
Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I've had the pleasure of working with Dennis for many years, and we're still both in our 20s or 30s, something like that. But Dennis he's probably the smartest guy I know that can talk to people that, like me, that doesn't understand all the technical stuff. He's very relatable. He can relate very tough technical stuff to the people on the wall, and that value is significant in communicating how to do things to our customers. He's a hands-on guy. He can build a house. He's very hands-on technical, so not only book smart, but can do stuff. So appreciate Dennis and his work. It's amazing.
One of the things I always say is that to customers and people out there, I said it's the benefit and the blessing and the curse, right? It's the availability of Dennis is great because everybody can call him and talk to him and really hash out what he needs. And he gets it done so fast, efficiently, effective. And it's usually 100% accurate 100% of the time. I'll say 99.9 just to give you a little bit there, Dennis, of, sometimes maybe there's something, but it is one of those things where you're so available to all those that are out there. So, please feel free to reach out. I mean, I don't want to flood your inbox with so much stuff, but at the same time, yeah, I do, because I think getting that knowledge, like you were saying, he's so knowledgeable in so many areas, Mike, it's just so valuable to the industry as a whole, for sure. As I think Herm called him the GOAT before to everybody.
There you go.
He's the GOAT in EIFS.
Back in the old days before Masterwall, I was actually getting paid to write reports. Now I'm doing them for free. I don't know what happened with my life.
I want to know, how was Mike your boss? How did that? How was Mr.
You were never Mike was everyone's boss.
Everybody's boss.
I can remember I got a bunch of resumes, and I was trying to hire somebody, and so I had an ad in like the Detroit paper or something, and Dennis replied, and I went through stacks and stacks, and when I saw that he had written his own water vapor transmission analysis program for roof systems then, I thought, wow, I got to bring that guy in, because we had an architect that was doing water vapor transmission analysis by hand. It would take days to complete that. And so that's really what intrigued me at first.
Yeah. Herman, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add, since you kind of work, cross company with Dennis in some ways. So I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to throw in there. We're winding down here, but I'll give you an opportunity.
I've unmuted myself.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Which is dangerous for a Monday morning. No, I what Mike was saying is spot on. I mean, Dennis is just a great guy to work with, very relatable. Breaks it down for sales and marketing guys like myself who know enough to be dangerous. And we really enjoy our collaboration with you guys over all these years. And Dennis certainly is a big part of that.
Absolutely.
We do too.
And Dennis, I'll be sending you, send me that $20 bill later.
I'll have to do that or buy you a drink.
You can memo. Actually, yes.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, if there's not any other questions, just to plug what we have coming up. So next month we'll have a distributor group where we'll kind of ask some questions about what some of our distributors are seeing in the market, where they see the market going over the next few months as we close out 2020 and head into 2021. And then also we'll have research and development from Masterwall, which will be Stephen Smithwick and Glenn Smith. So they'll be joining us. So we'll put those announcements out of what those dates are. And we appreciate everybody joining us today. And Brian, I guess we'll end the recording. And then if anybody wants to stay on and ask any questions, we'll go with that.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everybody.